Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, 2 decrees are issued appointing Dr. Badr Al-Isa as Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education and Yaqub Al-Sani as Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs. His Highness the Emir receives the 2 new ministers who took the official oath before His Highness. The Rafah crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt is closed after the Egyptian government announces a state of emergency in the Sinai Peninsula. And Tunisia is voting to elect its first full parliament under a new constitution passed earlier this year. A decree has been issued appointing the Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education. The decree said after perusal of the Constitution and Decree number 212 on the formation of the government and the briefing by the Prime Minister, we decreed as follows. Article number 1, Dr. Badr Hamad Abdul Latif Al-Isa is hereby appointed as Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education. Article 2, the Prime Minister shall inform the National Assembly of this decree, which will be put into effect as of the date of its issuance and will be published in the Official Gazette. Emir of the State of Kuwait, Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Prime Minister Jaber Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, issued at Bayan Palace on the 2nd of Muharram 1436 Hijri, corresponding to the 26th of October 2014. Another decree was also issued appointing the Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs. The decree said after perusal of the Constitution and Decree number 212 on the formation of the government and the briefing by the Prime Minister, we decreed as follows. Article 1, Yaqub Abdul Mehsen Al-Sani is hereby appointed as Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs. Article 2, the Prime Minister shall inform the National Assembly of this decree, which will be put into effect as of the date of its issuance and will be published in the Official Gazette. Emir of the State of Kuwait, Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Prime Minister Jaber Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, issued at Bayan Palace on the 2nd of Muharram 1436 Hijri, corresponding to the 26th of October 2014. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, received at Bayan Palace today His Highness the Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. His Highness also received His Excellency the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem. His Highness the Emir then received His Highness Sheikh Jaber Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Emir later received at Bayan Palace today His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, received at Bayan Palace today with the attendance of His Highness the Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, His Highness Sheikh Jaber Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, who introduced to His Highness the new ministers, Dr. Badr Hamad Al-Isa, Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education, and Yaqub Abdul Mehsen Al-Sani, Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, who took the constitutional oath before His Highness upon their new appointment. His Highness the Emir provided the 2 new ministers with his directives, which emphasized on the need to upgrade governmental performance in order to push ahead the development process and encounter the current challenges. His Highness the Emir also underlined the need for cooperation with the National Assembly in order to fulfill the aspirations of the citizens and to work out solutions for the standing problems. His Highness the Prime Minister expressed his deep thanks and appreciation for His Highness the Emir's confidence and valuable directives. He also vowed to implement them and exercise sincere cooperation with the National Assembly members in order to arrive at the common goals which will enhance service to the country and citizens. His Highness said the law shall be implemented, as well as the right course to achieve comprehensive reform. The swearing-in ceremony was attended by the Deputy Minister of Emiri Diwan Affairs, Sheikh Ali Jarrah Al-Sabah, the Secretary General of the Council of Ministers, Abdul Latif Al-Rodan, the Director of His Highness the Emir's Office, Ahmed Fahd Al-Fahd, the Head of Emir Protocol and Ceremonies, Sheikh Adil Abdullah Al-Sabah Al-Nasir Al-Sabah.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن أكون مخلصا للوطن والأمير ونحترم الدستور وقوانين الدولة الود عن حريات الشعب ومصالحه وأعماله بالأمانة والصدق.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن أكون مخلصا للوطن وللأمير، وأن أحترم الدستور وقوانين الدولة، وأذود عن حريات الشعب ومصالحه وأمانة الصدق.
هذا ودنا أهنيكما سمو الرئيس فيكم وتأتنا فيكم كلكم، ونتمنى لكم إن شاء الله كل التوفيق.
أنا شاكر لسموك، يعني ثقتك الغالية اللي وضعتها فيهم. أبنائك ترى هم أبناء أيضا الوزارات اللي هو وضعت لهم. الأخ بدر دكتور في نقاط الضعف، فتوجيهات سموك بأن شيء مهم تعتمد على مخرجات التربية. كل ما هو كان فيها يعني مشاكل، فيجب أن تنحل مثل هذه المشكلة فيها. مثل ما تفضل سموك، يعني العدالة مهمة، ولكن أيضا الأحكام مخالفين القانون هذا شيء مهم. فأيضا ولدك يعني عايش في المحاكم وشايف نقاط الضعف اللي موجود، يقوم بالمشاكل. الوزراء اللي صاحب السمو أرجو أن تواجهون من الحياة فيها. أيضا يطلب من عندكم أيضا بتطبيق القانون. تسمعون الآن وعايشين شاكرين لثقة به أمانة في الرقبة. سمو ولي العهد مقدم مواقفه معنا.
نثمن ثقة سموك وثقة القيادة السياسية، وإن شاء الله نشتغل بتوجيهاتك السامية طال عمرك. ظنك وحسن طال عمرك إلا الشيء اللي يسرك المصلحة العامة، ونطبق القانون مثل توجيهات سموك اللي دائما ذكرتها، وهذه توجيهات وضعناها نبراس أمام عيوننا إن شاء الله.
هذا أملنا فيكم، أسأل الله لكم التوفيق رضا الناس. ترى شيء سهل انك ترضي، لكن إذا أخطأت بس تعمل.
سمعناها واللي حنسمعها هي خير.
إن شاء الله يكون عندك يسمعون منا لك الخير، وكل ما يعني كل خير للبلد، وإن شاء الله ما نشتغل إلا بما يرسم القانون وجادة قرارات مجلس الوزراء. وإحنا مؤمنين بأن اليوم العمل الجماعي هو العمل الناجح. اليوم الدكتور جزاه الله خير راح استفيد منه في جانب معين وهو يستفيد مني في جانب معين، والعمل الجماعي والتضامن الحكومي ان شاء الله راح نشوفه، ونشوف باذن الرحمن ان شاء الله عمل جماعي مؤسسي. طبعا سمو امير البلاد حفظه الله.
سمو الرئيس ارضاء الناس قايد لا تدرك، يعني ما تقدر ترضي كل الناس، لكن اعمل. اذا ضميرك مرتاح اعمل.
His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received at Bayan Palace today His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah and the Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Dr. Theodoros Adhanom, who delivered to His Highness a written message from His Excellency President Dr. Mulato Chomi, President of Ethiopia. The message dealt with the existing relations between the two countries and their peoples and ways of promoting various aspects of cooperation between them. The meeting was attended by the Deputy Minister of Emir Diwan Affairs, Sheikh Ali Jarrah Al Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency President Dr. Heinz Fischer of the Republic of Austria on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency President Dr. Heinz Fischer of the Republic of Austria on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable of congratulations. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received at Bayan Palace this morning His Excellency the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanem. His Highness also received His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Crown Prince then received His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah. His Highness also received the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince then received His Excellency the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defence Sheikh Khalid Jarrah Al Sabah. His Highness later received His Excellency the Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah Al Mbarak Al Sabah. His Highness the Crown Prince also received at Bayan Palace today His Excellency the Minister of State for Housing Affairs Yasser Hassan Abul. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, received in the presence of His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah at Bayan Palace today the ministerial delegation of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, which comprises of His Excellency the Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Theodoros Adhanom, His Excellency the Minister of Finance and Economic Development Sifan Ahmed, and His Excellency the Minister of Agriculture Tefra Daribo on the occasion of their visit to the country. The meeting was attended by the ambassadors of both countries. The First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah hosted a working luncheon at noon today in honour of the visiting Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ethiopia, Theodoros Adhanom, who is paying a 2-day official visit to Kuwait. The two sides discussed during the luncheon banquet ways of boosting bilateral relations in different domains and support for the Arab-African relations, as well as the implementation of the resolutions adopted by the Third Arab-African Summit, which is currently being chaired by the State of Kuwait. They also discussed the latest developments on the regional and international levels. The banquet was attended by the Minister of Finance, Anas Khalid Saleh, the Minister of Oil, Dr. Ali Saleh Al-Amir, the Director General of Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, Abdul Wahab Ahmed Al-Badr, the Managing Director of the Public Authority of Investment, Badr Mohammed Al-Saad, the Director of Asia Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Mohammed Ahmed Al-Rumi, the Director of the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister's Office, Ambassador Sheikh Dr. Ahmed Nasser Mohammed Al-Subah, the Director of the Protocol Department, Ambassador Ajran Al-Ajran, the Acting Director of Africa Department, Haman Sleiman Al-Mish'an, Kuwait's Ambassador to Ethiopia, Rashid Al-Hajri, as well as other senior officials at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As part of the state of emergency declared in much of Egypt's Sinai Peninsula following attacks on Friday that killed 31 soldiers, Egyptian authorities closed the Rafah border crossing into the Gaza Strip early Saturday morning. Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and several Palestinian movements in the Gaza Strip condemned the attack and shared their condolences with the Egyptian people. Majd Al-Wahidi has more in this report.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas sent his condolences to Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the death of Egyptian soldiers in a suicide car bombing in Sinai. He condemned the incident, calling it a terrorist attack. Meanwhile, several Palestinian movements in the Gaza Strip also condemned the attack and expressed solidarity with the families of the dead and wounded soldiers.
What
happened in Sinai is a terrorist attack and a clear attempt to drive the region into more conflicts that serve the interest of Israel and the occupation. We in the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine condemn such attacks, and we send our warm condolences to the Egyptian president and the families of the dead soldiers.
We hope Egypt will revive its peace and stability. The attacks were against innocent people. We confirm that the security of Egypt is the security of Palestine. Without Egypt's security, there will be no security in Palestine.
Following the deadly attacks in Sinai, Egyptian authorities declared a state of emergency for 3 months and shut down Rafah border crossing with the Gaza Strip immediately and indefinitely. On the other hand, observers fear these changes would paralyze the indirect negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians on cementing a long-term truce. The talks are brokered by Egypt and were scheduled to resume in the coming few days, but were delayed due to the troubled security situations on the border.
I think the negotiations which are supposed to begin in the next 2 days between the Palestinian delegation and the Israeli delegation concerning the ceasefire has been delayed. We don't know how long this is going to take, but at least this would affect the economic situation and humanitarian situation in Gaza.
After Egyptian President El-Sisi hinted that foreign bodies were involved in recent attacks, Hamas movement in Gaza denied any involvement in the incident, saying that the Gaza-Egypt border is safe and is under security and supervision. However, it seems that the mistrust between both Hamas and Egyptian leadership is growing, and that innocent people is the one who continue to pay a price.
With the ongoing siege and the closure of Rafah crossing, life in Gaza continues to deteriorate and the suffering of people is worse than ever before. Majd Al-Wahidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Tunisia is voting to elect its first full parliament under a new constitution passed early this year. Around 5 million Tunisians have registered to vote, with overseas residents having already cast their ballots on Friday. Tunisia is set to hold a presidential election on November 23rd, which will deliver the country's first directly elected leader since the revolution. More details with Nadia Ali.
Tunisians voted today in parliamentary elections that bring full democracy finally within their reach, 4 years after their uprising cast out autocratic Zain al-Abidine bin Ali. Tunisia has fared better than its neighbors, who also ousted their own long-ruling leaders during the 2011 Arab Spring uprisings, largely avoiding the polarization between competing desires for different rule. In these elections, jobs, economic opportunities, and Tunisia's low-intensity conflict with militants are the main concerns of a country heavily reliant on foreign tourism. The moderate Islamist party Ennahda and rival secular alliance Nidat Tunis are favored to win most seats in today's vote, only the second free election in Tunisia since Ben Ali fled into exile. But the large number of other parties, from conservative Salafist movements to socialists, means a coalition government is the probable outcome. The 217-member assembly will choose a new prime minister. Ennahda won most seats in the first election in 2011 and led a coalition before a crisis over their rule forced them into a deal to step aside for a caretaker premier. But Nidat Tunis, which includes some former members of the Ben Ali regime, see themselves as modern technocrats able to manage the economic and security challenges after the messy period of the former rule. Meanwhile, a Tunisian official said a security officer has been killed in a shootout that began when a suspect's home was surrounded near the capital. An Interior Ministry spokesman said the exchange of fire came after a pair of counter-terrorism operations that left one bystander dead. Police surrounded a house in Oud Ilil suburb of Tunis, and shots were exchanged with those inside. The Interior Ministry spokesman said one officer was killed and earlier said several people were injured. Neighboring houses were evacuated and gas, electricity, and water were cut. Authorities had warned that radicals seeking to overthrow the state would attempt to disrupt the elections.
A ceremony at the Bastion Leatherneck military complex marked today the official end of British and American combat operations in Helmand province in Afghanistan. American and British flags were lowered and folded up at the regional headquarters of the international military. Camp Leatherneck is the largest US base to be handed over to Afghan control as the coalition ends its combat mission at the end of 2014. Helmand was a major focus of troops' 2010 attempt to regain control from the Taliban insurgency. The surge saw international forces in Afghanistan swell to about 140,000. By January 1, 2015, the numbers will be reduced to around 12,500 representatives of foreign forces, mostly trainers and advisors. Smoke and the sound of explosions filled today the Kobani sky as US forces launched fresh airstrikes against Islamic State or IS militants vying with Kurdish fighters for the control of the town on Syria's Turkish border. The Kurdish militia have been struggling to defend Kobani from better armed IS militants who have used tanks, artillery and suicide truck bombs in a month-long offensive against the town at the Turkish border. Kobani lies on the border with Turkey, and the militants, keen to consolidate territorial gains in northern Syria, have pressed on an offensive against the town even as US-led forces started bombing their positions. The battle was also taken on major political significance for Turkey, where the siege has sparked protests among Kurds and threatened a peace process with Turkey's own Kurdish insurgents, who are angry at the government for failing to aid Kobani. Ukrainian voters headed to the polls in snap elections for a new parliament that is set to play a bigger role in the country following the shift of power in the Ukraine's semi-presidential system. President Petro Poroshenko called the poll, which he described as an historic chance to set the country on a pro-Western path. Sarah Glubb was at the Ukrainian embassy in Kuwait, where they opened a polling station for Ukrainians residing in Kuwait.
Ukrainians residing in the state of Kuwait were given the opportunity to participate along with their nation in their country's snap elections to vote for a new parliament.
As you know, after Maidan and all our crucial events in Ukraine, we elected new president, Mr. Poroshenko, in May, and today we re-elected our parliament. And we hope that new parliament would be will demonstrate a new approach of our people, of our society. They will support, our new deputies will support for our Euro integration process, and they will really representative of our population, of our people. Unfortunately, this election we conduct in not very easy situation. As you know, we have an aggression in Ukraine, from Russian troops as well as our terrorists in the east of Ukraine. And this parliament election also will dedicate how we may settle this bloody conflict in a peaceful manner.
Although the Ukrainian community in Kuwait consists of around 300 people, only 150 are eligible to vote as they are registered with the consular section. Half of the 450 seats in parliament will be allocated proportionally according to a party list system, with parties needing to gain more than 5% to win seats. Another 198 MPs will be elected from individual constituencies, with 27 from Crimea and the rebel-held areas remaining vacant.
Our election commission consists with our citizens that working here or living here in Kuwait. Nobody from officials took part in this commission, only our people, or our citizens. Our commission opened this station at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we will work for 8 o'clock in the evening. I would like to explain my high appreciation to your Ministry of Foreign Affairs that gave us this permission to open an election in the premises of our embassy, as well as I think that all what we do will support to peace in my country and democracy, as well as here.
After polling stations close, all members of the Election Commission in Kuwait will count the ballots and inform the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the results. Following a presidential election in May, Ukrainians all over the world and right here in the state of Kuwait are taking part in snap parliamentary elections to elect 450 MPs in a crucial poll that is expected to cement a new direction for the country. From the Embassy of the Republic of Ukraine in the state of Kuwait, this is Sarah Gleb reporting for English News.
During the GCC Ministerial Conference, Kuwait's Regional Centre for Economics and Finance, or the CEF, was officially inaugurated yesterday at the Sheraton Hotel, jointly by Kuwait's Minister of Finance, Anas Saleh, and the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Ms. Christine Lagarde. The ceremony was attended by GCC finance ministers, central bank governors and other prominent dignitaries. Here is more on the event in this report by Salim El-Kindari.
The International Monetary Fund Middle East Center for Economics and Finance (CEF) began operating in Kuwait since the year 2011 as one of the 4 IMF regional training centers around the world. The Managing Director of IMF, Ms. Christine Lagarde, appreciated all the efforts provided by Kuwait's government officials.
Thank the Kuwait authorities for their very generous financial support, and I hope that other countries from the Gulf will be also interested in sponsoring the initiative of the CEF. And frankly, this is very typical of the Kuwaiti approach. You are very known as a country that likes knowledge, that sets up a platform for knowledge, but you're also known for your generosity and solidarity with other countries. And I think that has been mostly expressed in the form of the center at this very peculiar juncture in this region and in the neighboring countries, where clearly there are frictions, difficulties, but where good training, good technical assistance can actually help structure the economic development and support sustainable growth and the creation of jobs.
We are a regional training center, which is a part of the headquarters International Monetary Fund Institute for Capacity Development, and we cater specifically to the region of the 22 member Arab League countries. We offer the training in areas of economic management and financial management predominantly, but we also have complemented our training in economics and finance with the help of other international organizations such as the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development on very important topics to the region. including aspects of competitiveness, issues in pension, health, labor market issues, and so on and so forth. So with this, we could say we have a fully comprehensive program, training that cater to central banks, ministries of finance, and all other ministries and statistical agencies in the region.
The main mission of the center is to strengthen the economic management in Arab League member countries by improving the ability of their officials to analyze economic conditions, diagnose problems, design and implement appropriate policies.
This was the inauguration ceremony of the International Monetary Fund Center for Economics and Finance here in Kuwait. The idea of this center is to provide training courses for officials, financial institutions in the Kuwait and also the region. From the Sheraton Hotel, this is Salman Kendiri reporting for the English News.
The Kuwait Stock Exchange closed today's trading session in the red zone as the weighted index reached 483.91 points, losing 3.02 points. The price index reached 7,382.19 points, shedding 32.56 points, and the KSX 15 recorded 1,179.56 points, losing 11.21. The number of trades amounted to 2,939 transactions worth 15 million Kuwaiti dinars, with 119 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. 2 decrees are issued appointing Dr. Badr al-Isa as Minister of Education and Minister of Higher Education, and Yaqub al-Sani as Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs. His Highness the Emir receives the 2 new ministers who took the official oath before His Highness. The Rafah crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt is closed after the Egyptian government announces a state of emergency in the Sinai Peninsula. And Tunisia is voting to elect its first full parliament under a new constitution passed earlier this year. Thank you for joining us.